I am from the LM4A. So today I am the first presenter of the case of the Madam Useful and also Useless. So I will explain about the first element in ILAC, which is the issue law application also conclusion. So I'm going to explain about the issue of the consideration between Madam Useful and also Useless. So in this case of Madam Useful and also Useless, so the issue is, okay, Madam Useful offered Useless RM 1,000 ringgit and also a single story terrace house, and in return Useless have to return back to Ipoh and further his study there at KPM Ipoh. So, the question here is there any consideration that happened between Madam Useful and also Useless? Is there any consideration that happened? So, to know about this and to be more clear about this, the next presenter will continue the explanation. So, that's all from me.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nusha Zuhajirah binti Adnan. I will now explain the consideration in this case in terms of law. So, as we know, in this case, there's a consideration between Madam Useful and her son, which is Useless. She offered her son a terrace house and RM 1,000, but in return, she wants her son to further his study in KPM Ipoh. So, based on that issue, there's obviously have a consideration between Madam Useful and her son Useless. In consideration, there's a general rule which is in Section 26 Contract Act 1950. Agreement made without consideration is void. Consideration can be defined in Section 2D Contract Act 1950 when at the desire of the promiser, the promisee or any other person has done or abstained from doing or does or abstain from doing or promised to do or to abstain from doing something such act or abstain or promise is called a consideration for the promise. It means that all consideration must have value in return. For example, if one party is willing to pay another party about their promise or act to do something, besides that, consideration may be in the form of act, abstain or promise to perform a future act or abstain. So, in this case, there's a consideration between Madam Useful and her son, which is she promised to give a terrace house and RM 1,000 to her son. But in return, her son, Useless, must further study to KPM Ipoh in order to get the terrace house and RM 1,000 as their agreement. So, agreement made with consideration is valid.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurul Fatiha. So, I will continue the law part of consideration. In a simple word, consideration means something that is given in return for something else. For example, Useless is agree to further his study at College Professional Mara Ipoh. In return, his mother, Madam Useful, will give him 1,000 ringgit and a single-story terrace house. Useless consideration is the promise to further his study at College Professional Mara Ipoh in accountancy. Madam Useful consideration is its promise to give 1,000 ringgit and a single-story house to Useless.
The application of this case is for consideration as promiser. Madam Useful has offered to provide 1,000 as monthly expenses and a single-story terrace house for Useless. Meanwhile, the consideration as promisee, Useless has agreed to return to Ipoh and further his study in accountancy at College Professional Mara Ipoh. The classification of both consideration is executory consideration because of the exchange of the promises is made to perform in the act of the future, which is useless have to return to Ipoh and further his study as Madam Useful has promised to give him 1,000 and a single-story terrace house.
In this case, there is a consideration between Madam Useful and Useless as they both get something in return. So, Madam Useful will get something in return whenever Useless back to Ipoh and further his study at College Professional Mara, while Useless will get the return as his mom promised to give whenever he back to Ipoh and further his study, which is the terrace house and also the monthly expenses 1,000 ringgit. So if they both get something in return, that means the agreement between of them is valid. So that's all from us about the consideration between Madam Useful and Useless. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Surul Fatiha. So the next thing we're going to present is intention to create legal relation. The first thing first is issues. Useless was a sale advisor at well-known car dealer in Johor Bahru. While he worked there, his mother, Madam Useful, has offered him 1,000 ringgit and a single-story terrace house. In return, he needs to further his study at College Professional Mara Ipoh in accountancy. Madam Useful defaulted the promise and Useless want to take legal action against his mother for breach the promise. The issues here is Useless action to take legal action against his mother, Madam Useful, is valid or invalid? The question here also is there any intention to create legal relation between them?
So I'll continue with the next one, which is the law. So, in intention to create legal relationships, there are two presumptions, which is the first one is the business agreement, and the second one is the domestic family agreement. So, for the case of Madam Useful and also Useless, the presumptions that apply on this case is the domestic family agreement. And it is in the situation of social because it is between the mother, which is the Madam Useful, and also the son, which is the Useless. So both of them are in relationship of a family. So it is applied under the domestic family agreement. Thank you.
The general rules of family or domestic relations, there is no presumptions of legally binding. In other words, the agreement is not intended to be legally enforceable. Therefore, the failure to fulfill the promise will not be subjected to legal actions. Otherwise, in terms of exceptions, the presumptions is rebuttable.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Nusha Zuhajira binti Adnan. Now I will explain about the intention to create legal relation in this case. In terms of application, intention to create legal relation have two presumptions, which is the first one is about social, domestic, and family agreements, and the second one is about business agreement. As we know, in this case, there are a relationship between a mother and her son, which is Madam Useful and her son named Useless. So it obviously shows that relationship between mother and her son is under the family agreement in intention to create legal relation. So in terms of application, Useless action to take legal action against Madam Useful is failed. Why is it failed? Because there is no contract due to plaintiff fails to prove intention to create legal relation. And not only that, there is no legally binding agreement because the parties did not intend to be bound by legal considerations. So I think that's all from me. Thank you and have a nice day.
Therefore, Useless don't have any intention to take legal action against his mother because of both of them is under family agreement.
which is Madam Useful is a mother and Useless is her son. So they also don't have any legal agreement, such as the writing agreement that become a proof about the offer that they have been made together. So as I said before, Useless don't have any legal agreement to become as a proof for him to take legal action against his mother. So that's all from us about the intention between Madam Useful and Useless and the consideration between of them. So thank you.